Live at ringside in Atlantic City, tail of the tape for Briggs against Wilson, and you can see that Shannon Briggs has the physical advantages in height, in weight, and in reach. Punch stat numbers, Larry.
Here you see that they throw roughly the same amount of punches per round. Briggs lands roughly twice as many. Here's the opponent's connect rate. Wilson gets hit a little bit more. Briggs is so busy on offense that his opponents are covering up more.
Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Shannon Briggs-Darroll Wilson fight is scheduled for 10 rounds. The standing 8 count is in effect in this fight. There is no 3 knockdown rule. The referee or the doctor can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 10th and final round. Jim.
All right, Harold, let's take a look at one member of the audience who was once a developing young heavyweight, and
Jerry Cooney. You know, Jim, long before you joined us, we had the original night of young heavyweights. Jerry Cooney was on the card. Page was on the card. And Pinklin Thomas was on the card. Thomas and Page became champions briefly, and he became a top contender.
And here comes a man who would love to become a top contender against the odds. All he has to do it is beat Shannon Briggs tonight. Darroll Wilson, his last 5 fights have gone the distance. His trainers say that's good. He's learning to box. Born and raised in Danville, Virginia, but Wilson lives here in South Jersey. Came here to construct his professional boxing career, so if any fighter has a home ring advantage here tonight, he's the guy. And the record for Darroll Wilson, he says, hey, I'm just as unbeaten as Briggs. 15 wins, no losses, 2 draws, 10 KOs, and as we mentioned, the last 5 fights for Darroll Wilson have gone the distance. A former grocery store security guard who is dreaming big dreams and can take a step toward them with a victory tonight.
And he says that Briggs can't beat him on a bad day. Wilson's bad day. He is undefeated, and one thing we've learned across the years, undefeated fighters can be very hard to defeat, simply because they don't believe it's going to happen to them.
Wilson's trainer, Cash White, was a middleweight boxer in Philadelphia years ago. Once lost to Joey Giardello. Now here comes Shannon Briggs. The noise accompanying Briggs into the ring, partially a reflection of the fact that Mark Roberts, his manager, is said to have purchased 700 of the seats in the house for Briggs supporters. And the record for Shannon Briggs, 25 wins, no losses, 20 KOs. In each of his past 3 fights, he has come charging out of the corner at the opening bell and stormed through his opponent in the first round.
Let's go corner. Come on, let's get out of here.
And before we go to Michael Buffer, quickly, a word from you, Larry, on the passing of yet another longtime dignified figure in the world of boxing.
Yes, we wanted to pay homage to Murray Goodman, who was a publicity man for Madison Square Garden when Madison Square Garden was Madison Square Garden in boxing. We send our condolences to his son, Bobby Goodman, who is a promoter, and others in the family.
For more on that and the upcoming bout, let's go back to Michael Buffer for the pre-fight introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, at this time we must pay tribute to a member of the boxing fraternity who just recently passed away. He was the reigning dean of boxing publicists. In a career that lasted well more than half a century in the world of sports and boxing, he was a sports journalist, an editor, and well remembered and best remembered as a boxing publicist from the days of Joe Louis through Rocky Marciano to Ali and George Foreman. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we would like everyone to please remain silent while we toll a memorial count of 10 for one of boxing's best friends, who passed away at the age of 83, Mr. Murray Goodman. We'll miss you at ringside, Murray. Rest in peace. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the night of young heavyweights continues here at Bally's Park Place of Atlantic City, brought to you in association with your undisputed king of beers, Budweiser. This Bud's for you. This main events monitor production is sanctioned by the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board, Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazard Sr. The three judges scoring this bout, ladies and gentlemen, will be John Potteray, Luis Rivera, and John Stewart. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, your referee, Tony Orlando. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 10 rounds of boxing in the heavyweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the black trunks trimmed with red, and weighing in at 215 pounds. From right here in Atlantic City, New Jersey, he brings an undefeated record of 15-0 with 2 draws, 10 of his 15 victories by KO. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Darroll doing damage, Wilson. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black, trimmed with gold, and weighing 227 pounds. From Brooklyn, New York, he trains and fights out of the Mark Roberts House of Pain Gym in West Orange, New Jersey. His record, also undefeated, 25-0, 20 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the undefeated Shannon Briggs.
Okay, gentlemen, I expect a clean, professional fight. Is that clearly understood? Okay, shake hands, go to the corner. Let's go.
What one hopes for here is that Wilson will give some work to Briggs, give a challenge to Briggs, and of course, Wilson hopes to give him a lot more.
First requirement, weather the first round storm. Briggs charges across the ring and begins looking for opportunity right away. Hard left hook by Briggs. Darrell Wilson has never been knocked down, but Briggs has twice now with that left hook. Hook lands, Wilson wobbly. Briggs trying to finish him right away, as he's done in each of the last 3 bouts. Wilson needs to grab and hold here, George.
Let him throw at your head from afar off. Briggs has got to establish himself not only the big punch, but he should jab.
And you saw the roundhouse miss by Briggs that brought him back to the center of the ring. Wilson may well have weathered that early storm, and now Briggs settles into a more tactical position.
Briggs has got to understand that if you're going to be tall, you're going to be big, you're going to have to use that big left jab. coming up young, a lot of fighters get a few first, second round knockouts. They forget about the jab.
I think he just remembered it, George.
Wilson starting to get himself going in the fight. Lands a straight right hand and comes back with a left. Now Shannon Briggs smiling at him as if to say, oh, you think you can fight with me? Briggs blocking that right hand try by Wilson.
Young fighters got to understand that once a guy weathers your storm, you can't back away and look at him. You got to bluff him if it's no more than moving your feet as though you want him again. Little tricks like that comes with time. But if you stand back, they think, oh, he's tired, and then they'll attack you.
So Briggs has already shown you two things he still has to learn, huh?
Yep, when you're not throwing punches after you've been on the attack, bluff like you've got more if you don't.
Left hook lands in close for Briggs. Goes back to the jab. Wilson says, I can jab with you. There'll be no first round knockout tonight for Shannon Briggs.
Showed us something in that round.
Yeah, work on that. Relax. Give it out. Relax. Do not allow yourself to panic. Do not allow yourself to doubt yourself. You understand? There's no different than when a guy tries to make a run in the gym. There's no difference. You understand? That's it. All right. Now take a deep breath.
Calm down just like in the gym, baby. You know what I'm saying? You can beat him, up there. You can beat this guy, man. Keep putting that jab to his ass.
There's Briggs boring in early in the fight, but Wilson is staying right with him, covering up, hanging in there. As I said earlier, an undefeated fighter can be hard to beat because he doesn't think he can be beat. Both trainers have tried to settle down their young fighters by reminding them it's just a fight, just like in the gym, only a lot more so, George.
This is when the gym really pays off.
Converted southpaw Darrell Wilson into the second round with Shannon Briggs. And Briggs, having taken a couple of hard punches in the first round, is considerably more cautious as round two begins.
And Shannon Briggs got to establish he's a big taller, use that extra reach jab. It's not a shame to let a guy off the hook. It's a shame if you don't go back to the boxing skills you know you have. And sometimes young fighters get frightened. I didn't knock him out. Now he's hitting me, and they panic.
One thing I may have noticed, George, is that after he lands a punch, Briggs doesn't move his head, doesn't go from side to side expecting something back in return.
When you get a lot of knockouts, that's the bad habits that follow you. You wait to assess your damage.
Briggs doesn't appear to have much head movement at all, George.
Not at all, but
that's why he's getting hit with stuff like that.
Now Wilson is developing some courage. That might works to Shannon Briggs' advantage. He can catch him when he's trying to hit him.
Well, that's fine as long as Briggs doesn't mind tasting leather.
You're going to taste leather in this business, and that's time. Sometimes an undefeated fighter who's had his path pretty much sweet for him, it's hard to realize this is a tough business. People hit you.
Darrell Wilson, obviously an effective athlete, high school baseball and football star, took up boxing relatively late.
Briggs' corner should tell a young fighter like that, hey, move to Wilson's left, keep your jab going, so he has to reach out with his shorter arm reach to hit you with a right hand.
Body shot by Wilson, backs Briggs up momentarily. Briggs again getting hit. Now he knocks Wilson back with a left jab. comes back with a left hook to the body.
Briggs has to understand that the damage he keeps doing, it's in the middle of the ring. So when a guy gets on the rope, he seems to react and survive. He's doing your damage in the middle of the ring. Don't wait. Don't try to finish him out. It'll happen on its own.
Wilson continues to connect at a relatively high percentage. Briggs without head movement and showing a tendency to admire his work.
I love it.
I got him more.
To make you think negative or to doubt yourself. All right? Pull yourself together and let's be a pro. I know what talent you have. I know what size you have. I know what strength you have. Act like a goddamn pro. Do you understand what I mean by that? All right? Now listen. This is what I want. He's got you. His greatest defense is to get you to think that you got him for one and to get you to think he's doing more than he's doing. Just because he's steady. That's all he is. Now listen, use your jab, don't look for one punch. And when you miss the right hand, come back with the hook to the body. And make it two to the body.
He ain't built it. He ain't got no heart. Take a deep breath.
Behind the jab, all right? And no posing, no posing.
You heard at the end there Teddy Atlas talking about what we were talking about, Jim and George. Don't pose after you hit the man a punch. Move.
Shannon Briggs in the black and gold trunks against Darrell Wilson in the black and red. The initial excitement of Briggs' early storm has worn off, and this is developing for the moment into a tactical bout.
One thing about Wilson, if this fight can continue like this, he's the smaller. Those hard punches Briggs is landing on him is going to have some effect more on the lighter weight guy. You're going to do what you're going to do. Do it and be done with it. Don't stand there and be hit.
Briggs landed a straight right hand and again stood and watched afterward. This time Wilson didn't have the counter comeback.
Now this is to Wilson's advantage. You want to stay close like this, because then whenever he hits you, you can hit him back. His head is up there for you. You don't have to reach out. Briggs has got to understand that. Keep yourself away from these little guys.
And again, the absence of head movement for Briggs, making it possible for Wilson to connect consistently inside.
Another thing Briggs may have to learn, as George was suggesting before, is to be able to fake his opponent. He just shook his head as if to clear it, signaling Wilson that he may be a little dazed.
That's true, and that's pretty amateurish. These are the things that trainers cannot teach a guy. You've got to ask other fighters who are old in the gym to tell you about these things.
Left eye, or check it, the right eye of Shannon Briggs is cut. He's got a cut beside and maybe above the right eye. And that's a big target for Wilson, and he floors Shannon Briggs. This is over. Tremendous upset victory for Darrell Wilson.
Well, Jim and George, if you recall earlier I said, what is it the management know that we don't? We may just have found out.
And we told you about the rumors he'd been floored in the gym. He appeared to be mildly dazed, George, before that one punch, but in effect, he was knocked out by one left hook.
And not only that, it's no longer a rumor. He's been knocked down in a professional fight.
What mattered in the gym doesn't matter now. He tasted canvas here before the biggest audience of his burgeoning career.
And Wilson is at home. You get a crowd like that behind a guy, it makes him overperform, do something he's never done before.
Undefeated guys, hard to defeat.
Well, you could just
never know what they have.
You could see Wilson's confidence rise moment by moment throughout the bout.
As he weathered the early storm and made a real fight out of it, you could see Briggs' doubts rise in his eyes.
So first the cut, and then 20 or 30 seconds later, the knockout. Let's take another look. There it was. Short left hook inside. What do you think, George?
I think the initial cut disturbed Shannon Briggs so much. He reached to touch his eye. I cannot be cut. And from that point on, he didn't need a punch. He was already defeated. But the punch was just incidental.
That's amazing. He just caved in. And you could see him slow up as soon as the blood began to flow from the cut near the right eye. Take another look at this knockout punch, George. I'm not even sure it landed on the point of the chin.
Yeah, it was. But it was the initial cut. A guy getting himself in a territory that he's unfamiliar with, it'll just make you panic. This is a sport. Most of the time, you're going to bleed.
Well, this is why they call them heavyweights. And Darrell Wilson has proven tonight that he's a considerably more legitimate heavyweight contender than most people thought was the case. He wipes out the celebrated Shannon Briggs. Let's go up to Michael Buffer for the official particulars.
Ladies and gentlemen, the end comes at 2 minutes, 17 seconds of round number 3 as a new heavyweight boxing star is born here in Atlantic City tonight. His hometown, he's still undefeated, Darrell "Doing Damage" Wilson.
Doing damage is right. Darrell Wilson runs his record to 16-0-2, remains unbeaten, and puts the first blemish on the career mark of Shannon Briggs. Here's Larry Merchant.
Darrell Wilson. I guess we might be saying that name again.
More often there, sir.
Congratulations. When you weathered the early storm, did you think that this would happen?
All the way watching the tape. He saw him for the first 3 rounds. After that, took my time. He rocked me a little bit, caught me a couple good punches, but I weathered it. And it just took me time to warm down, and I warmed down.
You thought he would burn himself out from that pace?
Yes, sir. He had to. He was throwing hard punches, and I was ducking all them punches, and then making them pay for that.
We had commented at ringside that he doesn't move his head very much. Had you noticed that in observing his tapes?
I've been told you that. Told you he had slow feet, or he was knock-kneed. You ain't believe me. And then his manual say he ain't have no power, you know what I'm saying? So where did power come from?
It was mad. So you're saying that from your observation that his feet aren't in good position and that therefore he's vulnerable.
I know he's going to be there to hit, but you know what I'm saying? He's going to come off strong. Anybody come off strong for the first 3 rounds.
You hurt him?
He hurt me. I mean, he rocked me, but I ain't go down.
All right, Darrell, let's take a look at what happened at the end of the fight. And if we can roll it up.
I'm going to tell you what happened.
You describe it.
I went inside and worked on him a little bit. If I stayed outside, he'd have beat me up. So I had to get inside and work on his body like I was doing, and I caught him. All up in him. Boom, boom, boom.
What made his eye bleed?
I caught him with a hook. Right there, you just saw it. That hook.
Oh, Cash White hook.
I trained the hook right here. My baby hook.
That's right.
He was out, and he ain't never been tested before.
Congratulations. You have every reason to be as excited as you are.
Okay, one thing.
Jim and George.
This corner of them, they ain't had no power. And my manager was unknown.
Final punch stat numbers in Darrell Wilson's shocking destruction of Shannon Briggs. You can see that Wilson landed more punches, threw more punches, landed at a higher rate. Take away the opening 1-minute fusillade from Briggs, and from that point on, Wilson pretty much dominated the bout, George.
Well, it wasn't about dominating. It was about tactical mistakes. Shannon Briggs didn't use his jab to set things up. He went out and got himself real tired from trying to finish this guy out too quick, and it didn't pay off this time.
Indeed, it didn't, as it becomes a stunning knockout victory for Wilson that dramatically multiplies his prospects in the heavyweight division. Pretty good-looking fighter.
I think so. He knows he's not powerful, but when he got close, he took advantage of it, and the other guy, Shannon Briggs, was not smart enough. You got to hang around with old boxers to learn a lot of tricks. The best trainers in the world cannot teach you little tricks of fear that you got to learn from other fighters, and I think that's Briggs' problem. You need to hang around with some old pros.
What about all of the hoopla surrounding Briggs, the New York media celebration of him, the degree to which his manager was posturing him as an immediate superstar? You think maybe that got to him, too?
Well, Joe Louis' stock instantly went down once Max Mellon knocked him out. But believe me, for those who didn't jump on the bandwagon, they didn't have a chance when he was champion for 11 years later, right? So sometimes these guys are stopped earlier, but that could be a time for young investors to jump in, because this guy's got a future ahead of him, I do believe. You're saying that this could have been a blessing in disguise. A blessing in disguise, because it was all about mistakes more than he didn't have the heart. He kept fighting no matter what.
All right. Well said, George. Still to come.
Here's the world light heavyweight champion, Bob Foster, limbering up. Bob has been called by many the hardest puncher in the 69-year history of the light heavyweight.